We brought in the expert, Dr. Melanie Ross-Mills, who is a relationship and friendship expert. She is also a temperament therapist. Hey, Dr. Mel, good morning.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We're excited to dive into this topic because there's some really interesting psychology behind it. But before we get into that, explain sort of what this one-sided friendship is.
So I kind of liken it to one-sided tape and double-sided tape. You cannot create most of the time one-sided tape to become double-sided. So that basically means there's not a mutual exchange in friendship. We are the ones making most of the effort consistently. Sometimes we need to make more effort, right? Because we have different seasons. But consistently, we are the ones reaching out, making the effort, loving them in ways that we're bending over backwards, and it's not reciprocated.
And sometimes on the other end, you can leave that get together with a friend or leave that friendship feeling sort of anxious or even insecure or paranoid. Is that kind of a sign that, oh, geez, this is a one-sided friendship?
Yes, and sometimes it takes a while for us to clue in. We can't identify, or maybe our self-awareness isn't increased enough to notice that's what's going on. So I always say, look at how you feel after you meet for coffee or hang up the phone. Are you energized? Are you encouraged? Are you inspired? Or are you feeling a little less than? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling paranoid? Are you second guessing whether they're talking about you in code, but talking about somebody else, but meaning it's for you?
Oh, God, so that's exhausting.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, nobody has time for a friendship like that. But what do you do with those people? You have them in your life. I know for somebody like me, I'd think, oh, I couldn't possibly cut them off. What do we do?
I know, and that's what's hard is oftentimes these are our fun friends that we love to be with, right? So then that's even more confusing because we're enjoying their presence, but at the same time, we're leaving feeling less than or like it's one-sided. And so I think for first and foremost, we look at why we're staying there. Why are we choosing to stay in these friendships that are not reciprocated and aren't healthy? Is it a worth issue? Are we afraid they won't approve of us? Do we need their approval? So it's looking at why we are staying there.
Okay, so we're looking at that. The other thing in terms of evaluating, and I like this point you brought up, are you fearful that healthier friendships won't accept you? And that's a question to ask ourselves, like, kind of, this is the best I can do.
I know. And I mean, I've been there. I've not felt worthy of friendships with people that were healthy. I was actually intimidated. I don't know if you felt like that before.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you think, well, gosh, these women operate on a really high level, and I don't know if I'm there.
Yes. So I'm not good enough. I'm not going to measure up. And then what happens if I disappoint them? Because none of us are perfect. We've all gossiped at some point. And they're not gossiping. So then you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can even hold my tongue long enough to not be perfect.
So let's talk about that. If you're in a friendship group where you know that the commonality is gossip and you want to move to a higher level of friendship with maybe more intellect and more give and take, how do you do that?
Well, I think you limit your time, right? Because we know it's not healthy for us. We leave feeling, we don't need to know all this information. So limit your time. It doesn't mean you're not friends with them. It doesn't mean you can't go in and out, but then gravitate towards the ones that are healthy and make an effort. We are not going to have this experience unless we're intentional. So we have to make an effort to have mentors, have healthy friendships, and heavy load on the givers that are pouring into us. Because if we're all about the takers, then we're going to get drained.
Exactly. I want to also highlight this point in terms of evaluating our friendships. Are you still operating out of an old mindset? Like, I mean, approval-based, fear-based. The other question that you say we should think about is, do you have wounds that need to be addressed?
Yes. So I'm a reformed codependent. So I still have to be aware of me operating from that codependency and that need to be needed. So if we're not getting healthy ourselves, then we're not going to draw those healthy people to us. It just doesn't happen that way. And so looking at where we are we embracing our worth? Are we operating in these old mindsets? For me, it was codependence and the need to be needed, that need for approval, that fear of rejection. And if it is, then we shouldn't be surprised that some of our friendships aren't healthy.
Okay. And do you ever just tell a friend, hey, look, I'm not feeling this, I've got to move on? Or do you just limit your, like, that would be maybe the most difficult conversation I would ever have to have. I would rather do anything else besides that.
You know what? I actually don't think we're friends on Facebook, so I can say this. One time I had to do that, but it's only been once. and it wasn't a fit. I mean, they're relationships, right? Friendships we choose to be who we're with, and sometimes it isn't a fit. Sometimes it's nothing against them and nothing against me. It just didn't work. But that only happened one time, and I was in my 20s. Most of the time, we can move them in a way that we're not having expectations they're not capable of, and vice versa.
This has been really helpful, Dr. Mel. You still look like you're in your 20s, by the way. She unfriended somebody last week, you guys.
You were so sweet. You didn't the way I'm your arm muscles, FYI.
All the love, Dr. Mel. This has just been so fun to visit with you, and thank you for the advice. I'm definitely taking some of it myself, and I hope everybody else will as well. You guys, Dr. Mel has a really inspirational social media account at Dr. Melanie Ross Mills, and then her website, MelanieRossMills.com. It will also direct you to the Life Bonds podcast. It's a great listen if you're looking to work on your friendship.